Professor Pandemic back again, mathematicians, this time for adding and subtracting decimals. So we are no longer estimating, we are going right into it and adding and subtracting. So let's start here with a couple problems. Erase the board. So let's say I have 8 and 7/10 plus 15 and 4/10 and let's make it 8 and 235 thousandths. So all you need to know for adding, friends, is that all the decimals need to line up. So if I have 8 and 7/10 first, I need to put the decimal there. I have 15 and I have 4. Here I have 8, decimal 235 thousandths. So you need to make sure you do that when you're adding, so all the decimals line up and you get a nice line through. To make things easier, I add zeros to the end of these numbers, so that way it's a lot easier for me to solve and kind of see where everything's adding. So we add, and then we just add it up. 0 plus 0 plus 5 is 5. 0 plus 0 plus 3 is 3. We have 11 plus 2, which is 13. Decimal there and carry the 1. We have 16, 21, 22, carry the 2, and then 2 plus 1 is 3. So our answer here is 32 and 335 thousandths. So let's do a couple of these before we get to subtraction. All right, mathematicians, here is our next problem. Take a minute in your classes or in your groups and see if you can add this up and find the correct answer. Hopefully, mathematicians, when you finish this problem, you ended up with an answer of 38 and 976 thousandths. Again, most important thing, making sure you line up the decimals so they're nice in a straight line, making sure you add your zeros there, and that everything's nice and neat. The neater your work is, the easier it is to solve these type of problems. Let's do one more adding problem. In this adding problem, friends, I threw in a special trick. Will you be able to figure it out? We'll find out when we come up to the answer in a couple seconds. Did you get 36 and 956 thousandths, friends? I hope you did. The trick in this problem was that I put 8 with no decimal. But remember, if you have a whole number, the decimal always comes right after it. So in this problem, it should have been 8 with a decimal point, which is why I put the 8 there, and which is why if some of you maybe added it to the end or put it in a different spot, that could be why your answer maybe ended up a little different. But again, same thing. All the decimals are lined up. I add zeros so that way it's easier to solve, and then it's just making sure you don't make an addition mistake. Let's go very quickly to subtracting decimals. So with subtraction, obviously you can only have 2 numbers because you can only subtract 2 numbers at a time. So the first thing again is to make sure you line up your numbers correctly. You write the first number there, decimals line up, and everything looks great. This problem especially, you have to remember to put this 0, because if you forget, a lot of people might just put a 9 there. But because there's a 0, we should see that we can't subtract 0 minus 9. You have to borrow a 10. So now we have 10 ones. 10 minus 9 is 1. Have to borrow a second time. 12 minus 4 is 8. Bring down the decimal. 6 minus 6 is 0. And there's 1. So our answer here is 10 and 81 hundredths. So, let's do a couple subtraction problems just to make sure we are good to go before we let you loose on your classwork for the day. In this problem, we have 46 and 3/10 minus 17 and 345 thousandths. Take a minute in your group and see if you can solve this subtraction problem. If you lined up your numbers correctly and did your subtraction proficiently, you should have ended up with 28 and 955 thousandths for an answer. In this problem, we had to add 2 zeros to the end because we had our second number into the thousandths place, and then we had to borrow all the way over here at the 3, make it a 2, make this 10 to 9 and then keep borrowing. So again, a lot of borrowing in this question. So again, making sure you have enough space to do your work, making sure your work is clear and easily able to be read is really helpful, especially when you're adding and subtracting decimals. Let's do one more subtracting problem. 23 and 8/10 minus 14 and 93/100. Try this one out. Put your answers in the chat or hold on to them in case you want to keep it a secret, and let's see if you have it correct. Hopefully, you confidently were able to get the answer of 8 and 87/100. Your teachers may do some more questions with adding and subtracting in your chat or in your small group. I'm going to come back really quick and show you some key vocabulary that might help you when solving adding and subtracting word problems. Before we go today, friends, I just wanted to throw up a couple terms that let you know what an adding and subtracting question is. So if you see adding or subtracting in a question, you know what's going on. But if you see the words total, sum, or combined, what those trigger words are telling you is it's probably an adding problem. If you see the word difference, that's probably a subtraction problem. So these vocabulary words are good to know because they kind of give you a hint in a word problem what operation you need to use. And you may see that in your work. This brings us to the end of today's lesson. For Professor Pandemic, I wish you happy adding and subtracting, and we will see you at the next math lesson. Have a great day, friends.